Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my studio. Hope everybody's well and feeling happy today. I'm going to do another ugly watercolor painting today and another ugly floral. So where to start? I've got a piece of Bockingford here. This is a quarter sheet, Bockingford 140-pound cellulose paper, not 100% cotton, but it's fine for this kind of work. It's acid free and won't discolor in time. I've still got paintings lying around here, which I've done years and years ago, and there's been no problem with the paper aging or anything like that. So we're all good to go with Bockingford. Any paper will do. Copy paper if you haven't got anything else. So shall we start with our rose-coloured flowers and just mix up a little bit of that. Maybe I'll add a tiny bit of burnt sienna or whatever colour that is there to that one, and we'll start over here with some, I think I'm going to do them with 5 petals today. Yesterday we had 4, I think. Did we? I don't know. It was a bit of a random mishmash yesterday. I don't think it had anything particular, and this one's going to be equally random mishmash because that's the way my brain works, unfortunately for me. So we'll sort of scatter these around, and we kind of won't avoid the centre because avoiding the centre is always fatal. So we don't want the petals to be particularly even in shape or anything like that. We are looking for self-expression here. So let's put another one over here, vary the size a little bit. And I don't think I'm going to make them quite as big as I made the purple ones yesterday, but we will make them a good size. It's a nice pink with a little bit of orange in it to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to put some dark purpley colour in the middle. And I don't want it to run too much. There's a little bit of control setting in here because sometimes if you add your dark centre too soon, it'll run a lot, and you don't necessarily want it to run as much as that. So I'm going to, I've mixed up some of this grey blue, which is like indigo. It's like if you put, let's think. If you put ultramarine with black, you get a kind of indigo. And this is basically what that is, with a fair amount of the blue tint. But I'm going to add anyway a little bit of red to it, this rose colour, because I want it to harmonise with the rose, the flower. Are these wild roses? Maybe these are some kind of wild rose, we could call them, couldn't we? So I'm just putting centres in, making them a little bit broken up like that. And we might add a little bit more, depends what happens to them at this point in time. Now, while I've got this dark colour on here, I'm going to put in some, I've never done it like this before, but I have the dark colour on my brush and I feel berries calling out. So we'll just put those in, save wasting the paint. And we'll see where that ends up. They'll probably be entirely in the wrong place, but does it really matter? Try not to put your hand in the paint, Diane. You know, this is always a bad idea. So once we've done that, and I've come more or less to the end, I'm going to demonstrate what I mean about the fine lines. See how you can do fine lines. Should we put another one there? Okay, and have to exercise a little bit of judgment. It's not completely without possibility of error, because you have to get the brush to exactly the right position on. But that would happen with a smaller brush as well. So it's not because of the size of the brush. It's just that one's really fated, isn't it? Anyway, that's now that. So we'll get rid of that. And now I'm going to mix up this orange here with a bit of the red, and I want that to be a nice, strong orange colour. And then we're going to put some flowers, something like this, scattered around. I'll put a leaf over that to make that all better. So we've got, let's put another one over here. Then the next thing we're going to do is we'll start to think about the leaves. And so we want to mix up some greens. This is a really sludgy blue, and I'm thinking might quite like just to use that as it is here on this one. So it's a nice contrast there, isn't it? Okay. I could have added some yellow to that, but I thought, well, I quite like that green with the with that orange. So we'll do that. I don't know where this is going to go. I have no, apart from choosing the colours, I have no particular. I often don't even bother about choosing the colours. I just pick them up at random. Now, let's see. Shall we add some of this yellow to that blue and give ourselves something a bit more greenish? And let's put some sprigs here. It's a good idea, and you probably know this, it's like when you're doing design in your house, to repeat the elements, so you don't just have 20 different cushions, but they'd all have something in common, like a range of different neutral shades, for example. They could all be totally different, but if they've got something in common, then it looks okay. Do you know what I mean? I'm not very good at interior design, but I have read Ideal Homes, and I can envy other people their ability with that particular skill. And I'm thinking I need blue now. So we'll use some of this sort of, what is it? What would you call this? Sort of light Air Force blue. And you just keep going. About this point in time, you start to think, I always do, it's about now. I think, oh no, it's gone wrong. And this happens every single time. But you just keep going. You just keep going. I was reading, I bet everybody has read, looked at, thought about, and otherwise engaged with this book by Julia Cameron. The Artist's Way. This is an edition that I had, 1994 first published. This edition published 1995. And I started working in it, literally in it. I've got writing inside in about 2002. And that's when I did my daily pages and all that kind of thing. I didn't follow the whole thing all the way through, but I did feel that I needed to do something to reconnect with my artistic self. I'd been quite ill for quite a long time in the 90s, and I luckily made a full recovery. I'm still here to tell the tale at the moment. Anyway, keep fingers crossed. What was I saying? Anyway, I had given up painting and I needed to start again. Anyway, the book is all about how we are put on earth by God to be creative. And that's our way of saying thank you to God for having been given the chance to be here, is to do his will and to create. And I think that's true. And I think I said it yesterday as well, that we have an obligation to try, whether it's baking a cake or painting a picture or doing interior design or having children, lots of them, and bringing them up well. Everything is all about being creative. And that's why we're here on earth, to be creative, because love flows through creativity. I think that's most definitely true. And when you're doing a painting and it starts to go off track, you just have to have faith. Because I think she says, and this is why I thought of that book, she says something in there about just provide the physical energy and God will provide the rest. The inspiration, the understanding of what to do next and everything. So we have to trust and keep going. And one of the things that is always good about this is if somehow it doesn't seem to be working out, then you know that you can bring in your line work afterwards to rescue it, or you might even intend that all along. And so I'm looking for purple. I need some purple. We'll take that and this. What are we going to do with the purple? I think no, that's wrong. That's not right. I didn't want purple at all. Ooh, quick, go away. No, we'll go back. It's because these bluey greens are completely not purple. So we'll have to stick with them. So we'll put in our background. It's going to be blues, bluey green things. And then in a minute, we will come to the point where I'll say to myself, right, that's enough. This one seems to be calling for a little frondy things. Didn't do anything like that yesterday. Tell you what though, what we do need is a bit more dark. So some of these are going to have to engage with really dark blue. Yes, I know it's frightening. I'm not going to look, I'm just putting it there and then we'll wait for it to dry and then cry. Okay. Quick think. I think possibly centers need to be a little bit more bigger. Less white in the middle. I think we might need a bit of pink down here. Do we? Maybe we don't. No. We'll leave that. I'm going to let that dry and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so this is dry and now we come to the next step, which is going to be to beautify this ugly painting. And for those of you who say you can't paint or you can't draw, you can. And just believe me. I've got here a white gel pen. This is a upside down hybrid gel by Pentel, I think. So I can't read it. Dear. Where is it? Hybrid gel. Oh, maybe it says it here. No. Pigment. Gel. Pentel, there it is in the smallest writing. So, and I've also got a Kuretake Fudenisuke brush pen, which comes in hard and soft. They're both fairly soft. They have a brush nib to them, and you can get thick and thin lines in the same stroke. So that's really good, and that's really wet. Just dry that. What was I going to say? Yes, okay, so, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put white in the centres of these black centres, and that's going to sort of break me in because I'm starting in the centre, which is where everybody is going to look first, and so once I've done that, I'm committed, and Bob's your uncle, or there and thereabouts. I think I must be getting hungry, my brain's going to sleep. Can't be, I've just had a slice of bread and peanut butter. Shouldn't eat that stuff, it's not good for me. But I like it. Anyway, so putting in some white centres to these flowers first to give some contrast. And then I'm going to literally doodle all over the whole thing. So if you're looking for something to put you to sleep, feel free. I'm sure this is going to be very boring for some people. Now, where do I begin? I've got the white pen in my hand. I'm looking for the darkest areas that I'm going to want to go in with white. So maybe these leaves here, for example. And we can do as many lines as we like. We can do half of a leaf if we want. We don't have to do both sides. Or you can do half like that and then fewer lines on the other side, just as variety. And just whatever you feel like doing. So that's that one. And then this one down here, we could do similarly, but we'll do the same on both sides, perhaps. Tamsin's outside at the moment planting tomatoes. in the garden, in the greenhouse actually. We have a problem here with blight, and every year we try tomatoes and every year they get blight just before they're about to fruit. It's quite irritating. Potatoes do too, but it makes me think of Ireland and the potato blight and the famine and everything. Whenever I think about it, it makes you realise how lucky we are that we can actually go to the supermarket and buy food. Although I don't know whether you can really call it food some of the time. Okay, so I'm just putting white lines on some of the darker leaves to lift things a bit in some areas. I think it's quite important to try to grow some of your own food. It really makes you appreciate, doesn't it, what goes on behind the scenes normally. These are really interesting, these ones here, because they've got this running pattern, and when you put the lines on, that really actually quite enhances that, so I'm quite pleased with that. I didn't know that was going to work or not. So we'll do all of those ones with white. And there's another one here. I can't help feeling that doing this doodling is probably really very good for our fingers and dexterity and so on, which you notice as you get older, you drop things more often, don't you? And you can't open jars the way you used to be able to, and that's something that happens. And I think perhaps it could be that perhaps trying to do this kind of thing as often as possible. It's a good excuse, you see. So when someone says, "Oh, you waste all your time doing nothing but scribbling," and you're like, "No, I'm actually keeping myself useful so that I can continue to cook your dinner, dear." Okay, so that's quite a few of those. So I think I'm going to put the white aside at the moment, and we'll do something with the black. Now this one is the BS, which is black soft, and this one is BH, which is black hard. I was using the hard one yesterday, so maybe I'll do the same thing again. And we can now go into the next level of doodles, and we can take these ones and we can put our petals on the front. You don't have to do it like this, but you can. So we've turned that one now into some kind of flower, and then we can just put lines over the lines behind. Follow the shape. You press harder, it comes out thicker. You lift up, you can get some texture. And then we can come down here if you want. And then this leaf behind here we can emphasize. And this one perhaps. Press down hard, lift up. Press down hard, lift up. Okay, so that's that one. And then we can do exactly the same thing as we did yesterday. Some of these little branchlets here and put in their shapes like that. This one too, perhaps. Quite nice to just do the leaves first and then put the stem in. Just next to the painted stem, and then the little joining bits like that. So there we are, there's that. And for these larger ones, we could, what did we do yesterday? We just did the outline, didn't we? But we can do something else today. We can do the outline, which is great. Same thing. And then if you want, instead of just leaving it like that, we can embroider a bit more. I'm using the point of the brush now, or the pen, brush pen, and following the lines that would be lines of the veins in the leaf, in the petals. So that's that, and then we're going to go behind, of course. You probably won't want to do veins on all of the ones behind. Maybe just outline most of those. These green ones, for example, don't need, just maybe a center one like that. Okay, so that's that one. And then maybe we want to do this one in the same way as the one down there. Perhaps. Like a kind of poppy sort of thing. And then, whoops, in the background you could do them heavier, fewer. Sometimes if it doesn't work out, you might think, oh, what I need to do then, I didn't like that very much. I'm not going to try and get rid of it, but maybe I'll try and paint over it. Perhaps that will be better. So you've always got that, that option. And some of them you might just want to do without the extra lines. Maybe like we did yesterday with just the lines coming out part way. It's a matter of taste, isn't it? A matter of you can only find out what you want to do by doing it. Oh, that's very wise words. I knew, though, before I tried it, that I didn't want to do bungee jumping. I knew that, yeah. I think that I didn't have to try that out. Yeah. That's a dangerous sport. Do people still do that? I've got these funny stories about my delightful son. He went bungee jumping once I might say, only once and once alone. And he went with Tamsin, and his name's James. And before you get strapped up to jump off the platform, they did this in Vancouver or Vancouver Island, I think. If I remember rightly, I wasn't there. They weigh you, and they didn't weigh. They asked people's weights, and James was fairly chunky at the time, and he didn't admit to his full weight, or let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say he didn't know how much he weighed, and he told them a certain weight, and it wasn't enough. So when he jumped, he didn't want to go in the water. He didn't want to go head first into the water. It was lucky it wasn't earth, wasn't it? But he did. He went straight into the river, and he was never the same again. After that, he was he had neck problems and back problems, and I'm sure that was his stupidity for not telling the truth about his weight. Yeah, just goes to show. Pride goes literally before a fall. You catch me jumping off a cliff. God, honestly. Things people do. And then someone has to pick up the medical bill. Ah, the joys of youth, eh? What was the most dangerous thing you ever did? I was just trying to think. Well, I'm very cautious. The most dangerous thing I ever did probably was having my children. And that certainly was harmful. Yes, Lottie, I agree. Snort. Did I ever do anything? Oh, I suppose I did travel to strange places. I was very rash. I thought I was invincible, I suppose. Selling my house in England and taking the children to live in Egypt, that was probably, with hindsight, fairly risky, but it was fine. We didn't get into any trouble. Apart from marrying my husband, I suppose you could call that rash. Okay, so we're going on here. We're doing some nice petals around these brown ones here. I'm quite happy with this, relatively speaking. Pause for effect. Yes, that one and that one I did that way. These ones I've done that way. Which one do you prefer? This one hasn't got anything on it yet. Is that all the flowers? That's all the main flowers. I haven't forgotten any. They've all got something on them. So now we are on to the leaves. These ones are nice, aren't they? And we can do other things as well. I mean, you can do all sorts of doodly doodahs if you want. We could do zigzag lines, but that doesn't work for me. I don't like that. I prefer them to be smooth, relatively smooth, and fairly comprehensible, you know. But they definitely don't want to be exactly over the paint. That is definitely the thing to resist. Don't paint within the lines. It looks much better when you don't. Well, draw within the lines, that is to say. These ones are my favourites, little ones, little baby ones. You've got grown-up leaves now. Look, see how lucky you are. So Arthur the cat comes in this morning from a night on the tiles. You know what cats are like in the summer. You don't see them. We get very worried about him because there is a road outside. Not a busy road, but there is a road and there are tractors, if not very many cars. And we go to bed and we think, oh, is he going to be there in the morning? He always is. He comes in, Tamsin sits down at the computer to do some work, and Arthur jumps on her lap and curls up, puts his head under her arm and goes to sleep. I said to her this morning, I think we should get you one of those baby slings that people use when they carry their babies around with them and you carry the cat around. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. No, I was joking. He's a very cute cat. God forbid that anything should ever happen to him. Well, obviously it will eventually, but... I am working on the video about using the jelly plate, by the way. I am working on that, but it's a little bit more complicated than just doing a sketch like this because, well, first of all, I have to learn because it's completely new to me, and I don't want to waste your time by saying, I'm going to show you how to do something. I've never done it before. I won't do that. You know, I won't inflict that on anyone. That goes back to the days of teaching at school where you had to stay one step ahead of the pupils because you were under too much pressure to teach things that you didn't know anything about. But I don't want to do that now. Now I have my choice of how to teach. So I have to find out first exactly what I want to show you. But I can say already in advance that it's a fun technique and it does work with watercolor. You don't have to use acrylic. I'm not a big fan of acrylic, but I tell you what though, with that jelly plate thing, the acrylic paint has really come into its own because you really can get some fantastic. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep it really simple. My idea is to just make simple, literal mono prints, not layers and layers and layers. I'm not that kind of person. Again, she says. But, well, I do appreciate what people do. You know, it's very clever. But what I was thinking of doing was making backgrounds so that we could then... but you don't know where it's going to go for other people because somebody might watch my video about watercolour jelly prints and go away and come back with something absolutely phenomenal, which I know a lot of you do. Very, very impressive, the work that you all do. Amazing. Okay, so we're getting there, I think. Oh, does anyone suffer from TMJ? When the pollen is out and I get my blocked up ears, I also get a stiff jaw thing. TMJ, you know, too much joint. And it keeps cracking. So if you hear me cracking my jaw, I apologise. Because I know that's a horrible sound when other people do it. But it's such a relief, you know, when you can crack it so it's released a bit. How many things can go wrong with a body? Let me count the ways. Getting there, getting there, getting there. Stem on this one. We'll have some big leaves here. And big ones. And I've done all of this with the soft one, I think. Hard one. This is the hard one. This is BH. These aren't very expensive. I think I probably need to buy myself a new set. I've had these about 5 years, but I've given them a bit of a workout the last a few days doing this technique, and I do want to go round these berries. I did the stems with the brush just to show you how amazingly flexible that paintbrush is, this big one. It's really quite good. I quite like that brush. I don't have a problem with Princeton. They're really rather good. Has anyone tried Craftamo brushes? To ask you this, they've approached me to do a deal with them and I'm a bit hesitant. Does anyone know anything about the quality of their brushes? They don't look brilliant, I must say. So I've done some empty berries there. Now, is there anything I've missed completely? I think that's probably about it. Okay, I think that'll do. I just realised that my phone is telling me that I'm about to run out of battery, so I'm going to stop there. I hope you enjoyed that. That one was great fun, and give it a try. Unusual palette with the orange and the pink, as well as the green, and the greens being more greyish blue and so on and so forth. But yeah. What was I going to say? Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already done so. And if you want to join Patreon and get a little more on the Facebook group, in the private Facebook group for members, then we'd love to see you over there, where you can share your work and get feedback and so on and so forth. So hope everybody enjoyed this, and I'll let you go. And tomorrow is Sunday, and I will see you then. So bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.